Hello and welcome to the Game Football Podcast from The Times. Another defeat for Liverpool, a sixth red card for Chelsea in 9 games, and chaos at Celtic as Brendan Rodgers leaves with a row and Martin O'Neill returns. This remarkable season just keeps on producing fascinating stories. On today's show, we'll also discuss the worries at Wolves and ask whether Thomas Frank playing down Tottenham's chances is the right thing to do. I'm Tom Clark, and joining me today we have the chief correspondent for The Times and Sunday Times, Martin Samuel, the former Chelsea and Celtic forward Tony Cascarino, and the former footballer turned journalist Gregor Robson is here too. Chaps, welcome. Ready and raring to go.
Ready.
Have we started?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was the rehearsal. He's absolutely nailed that. It's a shame we haven't started.
Go on, do your gag.
No. You normally take 2 or 3 takes. You've done it in one, Tom, so we're surprised.
Absolutely outrageous, but it's nice to see you keeping you on your toes. Let's talk about the action from last night, as I think it's a good way of getting into some of the bigger topics. Cardiff, Fulham and Brentford all winning on Tuesday night. Grimsby's run coming to an end. Greg, I did enjoy their manager Dave Artell earlier in the week talking before this game, saying in the press conference that this match would be tougher than Manchester United. His quotes were the very clever way of doing it. I was editing on the day and I was like, he said what? And then and the reporter who was there filed them and he was like, look, Brentford are in great form. That's all I mean. I'm just saying. Anyway, he was right.
He was, yeah.
He was absolutely spot on. Another great win for Brentford and Keith Andrews. And then Wednesday night's wins for Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City and Newcastle. But at Anfield, a much changed Liverpool team beaten 3-0 by Crystal Palace. They rested players too. But I wanted to start, chaps. I'm going to read the intro from Paul Joyce's match report. He was at the game at Anfield. So I think this sets us up. And then Martin and Tony, I'll come to you for your thoughts on where this season is going for Liverpool. Paul writes, whether the team sheet spoke of sacrifice or surrender can be debated, but the bottom line is that Liverpool's campaign contains another loss and yet another defeat by Crystal Palace. The circumstances contrasted to those reverses already suffered in the Community Shield and the Premier League this season as Arne Slot fielded a second-string side, albeit one that still contained a World Cup winner and a European Championship winner. Yet whether it is the first team or the understudies, Liverpool have forgotten the art of winning. It is now 6 losses in 7 games across all competitions as Palace, demonstrating their newly acquired appetite for silverware, sauntered into the Carabao Cup quarter-finals. And I thought that line about Liverpool forgetting the art of winning is particularly striking, Martin, because for a team that sauntered themselves to the title last season... Yeah. It's becoming a remarkable feature of this season already, isn't it?
Aren't they the first team in history to win their first 5 games and then lose the next 4?
Right.
I don't think it's ever happened before that anyone's done that. So we come back to Manchester City last season, and that the Mick McCarthy quote about it can't get any worse than this. It can, because we saw with Manchester City last season that once, no matter how good you were, once you've lost that, I don't know, special something. I mean, I think it's confidence as much as
aura
anything else.
As well,
it's
perhaps.
Just aura and confidence, and suddenly they're beatable. Whereas nobody thought they could beat Manchester City last season, and suddenly everyone thought they could take a swing at Man City. It's certainly true with Liverpool.
So do you think it's descended into that now where, and Alison was saying this on Monday's show, having been at the Brentford game, that she was shocked by that thing that you were talking about there, aura, confidence, beyond just pure football. It's this idea that both Liverpool themselves think, Christ, we're not as good as we were. And the opposition are going, we can get at the...
It's got to be about more than pure football, Tom, because 11 players don't forget how to play football all of a sudden. Mo Salah doesn't forget how to play football, and Florian Wirtz doesn't become a bad footballer. Yeah. So there has got to be another quality, as well as the way the team's set up and all of those sort of things. There's got to be something else. And I've always thought it's that idea of winning being a habit, losing being a habit. Things that we regard as cliches about good teams finding a way to win, bad teams finding a way to lose. It all seems very sort of glib or whatever, but it is true because Man City are not a bad team. Liverpool are not a bad team, but something has been lost. Something was lost from City last season, something is lost from Liverpool this season.
Yeah, it's... I don't think it's I'll try to word this the right way. Liverpool have been, for me, since the opening game of the season, Bournemouth at home, Newcastle. Liverpool have conceded 2 goals plus 9 times out of 15. That is not... Whatever data you want to look at, that's poor. That's poor. You can't win leagues conceding 2 goals plus. I would add in... and the old Terry Venables, as Martin would know on this one, because Terry was very much 5 transfers and they all work, you can win the league. And if you get 2 right, you're beyond the relegation. If you get 1 right, you'll probably go down. All that sort of ideas around, signings. They've come in. Now, if we was to go, right, who's worked? Kirkez? No, don't think so. Ekitike, the only one, really. Isaac's done well. Isaac's not done well. So you're looking at, say, who else has come in? Verts has come in, struggled. Frimpong. So the 5 they're the main 5. They had a new goalkeeper as well. They're the main 5. One we could say as well, done okay, probably better than okay. It's a bit unfair on Ekitike. And then you compound that with the players that establish Mo Salah's performances, McAllister's performances, Konate's performances, Van Dijk's performances. And you're like, wow. You cannot get results with established players and new signings into a football club, and it works.
Is this then for you kind of full crisis now for Liverpool? We talked recently on the show about, what stage is it at? Is this a blip? Can they turn this around? What do you think this at is in terms of terminology?
Just on that, Tom, is like last night I sat down to watch the game, saw the lineup, and I thought, it's a bit... When you're losing games, you've got to win one. You've got to get, we were talking about that winning mentality. This is an end of the season where you might be challenging on 2 fronts or 3 fronts and going, we've got to leave a few out here. We've got the big game at the weekend. We're fighting for the title. We're still deep in the Champions League. You're not even there. You're in the end of October. So to me, it was like, no, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to leave players out this stage of the season.
Thoughts on that, chaps? The idea that Slot should have picked a stronger team in this current state that they're in, Gregor?
Yeah, I mean, look. In fairness, the win in Europe didn't do anything to change their fortunes either. So you think you got a 5-1 victory in the Champions League, you think, okay, maybe they've turned the corner and they've remembered how to win again. Didn't work.
I'd say to that, Gregor, Eintracht Frankfurt are the perfect team for Liverpool to play. If you've watched them, I mean, I've never seen a more ridiculous way of playing. You look at their goals, all their games, goals for and against. Eintracht Frankfurt are unbelievable. They're either 5-1 up or they're losing 6-4 like they did early in the season. For them, that was a perfect team for Liverpool to play. Now, I thought when I started to watch it after 10 minutes, I was like, there's no way they're beating Palace. And Palace did a mixed team. They also changed their formation, Liverpool, last night. So Arne Slot's gone with a different formation. The smallest back 4. It's not a back 4. It's a back 5, really. They were all small, all of them. They're not really centre halves in there. And Joe Gomez was terrible last night. So was Kirkez against. And they're not scapegoats. They just were really poor last night. And you just felt once they'd gone behind, there was no coming back for Liverpool. We've gone away now from the great goals. That's what champions do. Get late goals in matches in 92. We've gone away from that now with Liverpool.
Martin, on that, just quickly on that idea that you should have picked a stronger team.
Yeah, I think you need to change your luck. You need to change your form. And a stronger team might have done that. I mean, they've picked a stronger team against Crystal Palace on, what is it now? Is it 4 games?
3, they thought.
It's 3 this season, isn't it? But wasn't it at the end of last season as well? Did Palace not get a result against them at the end of last season as well? So it's 4 games. So, look, there's no guarantee that a fortunate Liverpool team gets a result against Crystal Palace because they do seem to have a hold over them at the moment. But at the same time, I think maybe the manager should have given himself the best chance of breaking this sequence.
Just on the idea, Tony, coming back to the Frankfurt thing about teams they're playing against and styles they're facing and things, didn't seem to be particularly enjoying Brentford's approach at the weekend and things, as much as Alisson said on Monday's show that Brentford were the better footballing team as well. Liverpool have now got Aston Villa at home on Saturday night, then Real Madrid at home, and then away against Manchester City. Is there a kind of... It's a tough run, but is there in a way, it's almost might be better for them playing these teams in a strange way?
I saw a good stat the other day that Liverpool have faced more long balls than any other team in the Premier League this season. So there is a strain of truth in the fact that teams are looking at the way Liverpool set up and the way I said this the other day. For all that Liverpool started to try and grasp more control of games, with the ball last season, they were still relentless without it. They still had the beauty of last season was that sort of tweaking the sort of way they played with the ball, but keeping a lot of what Jurgen Klopp had created in terms of the ferocity of their pressing and winning the ball back in the opponent's thirds. They had more high turnovers than any other team last season, leading to goals.
Yeah.
So teams have looked at that and thought, well, probably we're not just going to play into their hands anymore. Let's miss it out, and we'll also they started the season with one fewer midfielders, one less midfielder as well. So, what you're saying is true, that now they're playing Aston Villa, and Real Madrid, and these teams are probably not going to approach the game in the same way.
Yeah, the surprising thing against Brentford, Liverpool still, for the two centre halves, win a lot of aerial duels. They do. They do win a lot of them. But the long throw is so... I've been in this position. I used to defend long throws. My position on the pitch was to come back, be one of the main men to attack the ball.
Right. Where about, near front post?
Well, if I had a problem, I've got a guy as big as me, and I think he might win it, I'd have someone on his toes in front of him.
Yeah.
Say, right, you get in front of him, so it doesn't make it easier for him. So then I can try and come over the top of the header.
Yeah.
Canate 6 foot, 5? 6 foot 4, 6 foot 5?
He's a big lad, yeah.
Van Dijk, 6'4". They're the two that have to have the responsibility to attack the ball. And Brentford, as soon as they get it, they launch it, and it's long throws, and they end up getting the opening goal. Was it Utara, wasn't it, who got the first one, got on the end of it? But that's really simplistic way of trying to avoid a problem by having your best headers of the ball. Surely you can get data and go, where's he looking to throw? Where is the ball? Where is he getting the distance of the ball? You stand there.
Yeah. Well, that was Alison said, didn't she, Gregor, on Monday, that actually Slot said after games, all we did all week was work on the long throws and things. And it's it wasn't quite look like that. Listen, we've talked about Liverpool a lot on the show already this season, and we will. So I don't want to dwell too much. But Martin, just coming back to the point you made about the comparison with Manchester City, where do you think that comparison with Liverpool this season will continue? Or do you think that this is a side where...
Well, it will continue for as long as this run continues, because I think Man City's in the end was 13 games, wasn't it? It was one win in 13 games. I think they're Liverpool now 1 in 7 all competitions.
Yeah.
So
do you see them having a similar season?
They're at the halfway stage of it.
Do you see them having a similar season? Do we think they could be? They're going to be fourth
in
the league.
They're trying now. Their first priority is to try to make sure they qualify for the Champions League. Yeah. It's at that stage already. It's not at can we win the title. It's right. First of all, can we get in the Champions League?
I don't think Man City
Then worry about it.
On that run that Martin was talking about. I don't think Man City were as bad as what Liverpool have been.
Really?
In this run.
I
don't think that. I think Liverpool are far more beatable. But just look at the goals against column.
So you think it's that defence
alarming.
that makes it...
Earlier in the season, Tom, the best player for Liverpool is the goalkeeper. Right, so it's not like they've taken 2 chances in one game. Alisson, before he got injured, was pulling save after save off. And I'm like, if you're talking about the goals going in and the ones he saved, I'm sorry, I think Liverpool have been absolute shambles. And I want Slot, as a fan of the club, I want Slot to stay because I believe that he can turn it round. I'm not totally convinced, but I believe, because Liverpool fans generally are... No, they're not a club that want to get their managers out that quickly. They're not.
Not at all.
And I think he's okay for the moment, but he's got to show the quality to be able to turn this ship around.
Really interesting. Liverpool fans, do get in touch with your views. tom.clark@thetimes.co.uk. All the other results meaning that the quarter-finals for the League Cup look like this. Arsenal against Crystal Palace after that win for Oliver Glasner's side. Cardiff will take on Chelsea, Manchester City v Brentford, and Newcastle v Fulham. Chelsea is who I want to come to next. A bonkers game against Wolves, going through 4-3. Another red card for Chelsea. Liam Delap getting a second yellow card. That means if you include Enzo Maresca's red at the end of the win against Liverpool, 6 red cards in 9 games for Chelsea now. Martin, Enzo Maresca said recently, I think it was after the Malo Gusto red card about a week ago, he was asked in a press conference, do you fine players, do you discipline players? And he said, no, I'd leave it to the players. I let them decide these things. Might want to change his mind about that, might he?
It's ridiculous. Look, first of all, I would take Maresca's sending off out of the 6 in 9 because, one, it was a ridiculous sending off. He shouldn't have been booked in the first place. Booked was celebrating a goal with his team. I mean, it was ludicrous. Having said that, 5 in 9 is
Still
pretty
too
bad.
many,
It's too, and they're ridiculous sendings off. I mean, Delap's sending off last night was just pathetic. And for a player who's just come back from injury, it was Nicholas Jackson-like. It really was. They've replaced. If that is what Leon Delap is going to, and there was an incident in the Club World Cup where I think the same thing could have happened and didn't. And if he's doing that, well, then there's no difference between him and Nicholas Jackson, really, because Nicholas Jackson scored a reasonable amount of goals. He didn't score, he wasn't prolific, but he scored a reasonable amount of goals, but he kept getting himself sent off and he kept doing stupid things. That, last night, was utterly stupid. And one, he's dead lucky it's not a straight red, because he definitely does the guy, and he means to do the guy as well.
I'm not sure it's a straight red.
No, I think it's absolutely a straight red, and I think football, Gregor, has got a atrocious attitude to this. They're gonna wait until someone actually has a bleed on the brain like Ian Hume did and nearly dies.
This means like elbows and things. Like this
it's ridiculous. There's the twaddle you get booked for, and then if you stick that straight into someone's head, no one does anything. He gets a yellow card, second yellow. No, that was a straight red last night. Yeah. He checks where the fellow is. Yeah. He checks where he is.
Why don't you think? It's
I think he went up to barge him, and then he kind of did that as an afterthought. I remember Martin wrote a column after João Pedro, in fact, funnily enough.
For Brighton when he got away with
Brighton, and that was different in my view. But
that was when he threw an elbow, completely missed, and didn't get anything. Right?
Yeah. But there was a definite throw of an elbow. I think this was like a afterthought. And looking more broadly at them, I agree. Take Enzo Maresca. I'd actually take out Chalobah against Brighton, because I was at that game and it was a mistake that put him in an unenviable position to try and kind of save. I can't remember what went through. Gomez went clean through, and he tried to make a saving tackle and he was sent off. Sanchez also was because of an error, and he rushed out. It was a rush of blood to the head. I don't think he's good enough either. Like I'd pretty much take that out. But there's three. There's João Pedro against Benfica, Gusto against Nottingham Forest the other week, and Delap. They're all two bookings, and pretty stupid bookings as well. Like, does that equate to a problem? Like,
would you not want it as a manager to stamp that, because Chelsea are having a kind of such an inconsistency?
Maresca said,
or 8th or something.
Maresca said, I said 4 or 5 times to him, stay calm. Like,
but then he's not. So do you not then clamp down on it?
The problem Chelsea have is they've got a team full of 21 and 22-year-olds.
Yeah,
they've not done this before. He's made this mistake. He might not make it again. You hope he doesn't make it again. But they're making their first mistakes because they're young. So like Chelsea's problem always comes back to the same thing. You don't have they don't have. It's only the manager telling them that. Is there anyone else on the pitch, like someone who's been around and maybe been sent off and have been in that position, saying, "Hi, don't get sent off."
Yeah,
no.
I did get sent off.
Yeah. We'll come on to your discretions in a minute. But about that idea, the difference of opinion between the guys on whether Enzo Maresca has an issue to deal with here, and whether he should be getting involved with his younger players a bit more. To guide them, lead them.
Yeah, the first challenge I didn't have a problem with a yellow card at all. The second one, I think Martin and Gregor have both got a point to a degree. Because I've been in that situation myself, and I've looked for the defender. And you sometimes naturally, as a centre forward, especially when you're young, you feel like you've been out, you've not made your mark at Chelsea, you've been injured, and then suddenly you're coming back in. You get way too. It doesn't matter what people say to you. He goes in one ear and out the other. And obviously Maresca knows that. Now, hopefully, he'll learn that keeping your elbows down is part of the game now. You can't play 1980s football. You can't, can you? No. You just can't do that anymore. So I hope it's a learning curve for him. I didn't really have a problem with him getting red carded, and if it had been kept on for that moment, I would have gone, well, yeah, it's daft what he's did, but was it it's one of them for me. I mean, I had loads of elbows in faces and,
different game that you played though.
No, but it was.
No, I'm not making a joke. It was.
Gregor knows this as well. This is like sometimes I lost my 2 front teeth. I played.
They look great now.
Yeah, no, but I've had them all done. I broke my nose 3 times. both with elbows. And
that's good
like
too,
Martin said, I look back and I think I was lucky because there are serious injuries that do happen.
Yeah.
Ben Thatcher, when Ben Thatcher did the boy...
Mendes, yeah.
Yeah, Mendes.
Portsmouth, yeah.
Yeah, you know, when that... I mean, like, wow.
Who
You know,
knocked your teeth out, and did they pay for your new ones?
no, the worst one about my teeth was that it's the break. It's called Le Trevor in France, where it's the break, the winter break, right? And I was going to the Dominican Republic the day after, and 1 minute before the end of the game, I've gone for a diving header, and the defender's seen me, and he's just gone whack, and I've run straight onto it, and literally in hospital that night. Told I can't go away because of obviously inflammation from my nose had been smashed to pieces. And spent 3 weeks, come back to England, looked like the Elephant Man. I had black eyes. My sister's friend saw me in Blue Water, and she said to me, "What has happened to you?" And I was like, I had this big thing in my eyes, and she went, "I thought you'd been beaten up badly."
Yeah.
And I looked like I'd been beaten up badly. From this broken
Can you
nose.
remember who the player was?
No, I can't remember. It was a.
Didn't see him coming, did you?
Nancy, I don't remember his name.
Didn't see him
No,
coming.
but I remember how I felt and not going on holiday and then coming back and England and all that.
Another thing from both of your
Anyway,
playing
it's a
days
bit
then, the
long.
idea... No, it's a
I
great
find-
story.
I just want to say, I find it absolutely incredible you don't know the player's name.
No,
Because
it wasn't.
if
Well, he
that
got
been
hit
me-
so many
if that
times,
been
didn't he?
me,
No,
I'd
no.
have been sitting there right.
No.
Next season, he is absolutely getting
It was a game at the bottom end of the table. It was a team. I can't remember the team.
Too big time, Martin. He didn't get in that.
No, it
He
wasn't
was
a
at
name
no
of
idea.
any.
Charlton Black.
Oh,
Books,
I know. It was Laurent Blanc. No.
But just another question from your playing days, and for Gregor as well. Like, we're talking about the idea of Enzo Maresca fining his players and disciplining his players. Does that work? Did that work in your career? You know, if you'd have got...
Let
You're talking
Gregor
about...
go first.
Yeah, like, did you get fined? Did that work? Would that work? Would that make you stop doing anything? Or is it just a bit of a PR exercise?
I don't think so. I think they'll know they've done wrong. Like, and there are different approaches to these things. I remember reading, and was it Johnny did an interview with Nuno when he was at Wolves, and he was saying the thing about them players being late, and he would just, instead of punishing them or fining them, he would wait by the side of the training pitch, and everyone would just be waiting. And when you run in, he'd be like, "Okay, we're ready to start now." And imagine you'd be like, "Oof."
Just going for shame. Right?
So, well, yeah. So, like, you got to make it clear that you're letting your teammates down. Like, and I'm sure actually the teammates themselves should be saying that as well. Like, but again, it comes back to the fact that they're all kids.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. So there probably is a bit more responsibility for Maresca to actually say, "Look, you're letting your teammates down. We're suffering because of your stupidity."
Tony, you get any fines in your career?
Yeah, I did. I got I had a couple, but fortunately for us at the time, John Dockey, the Millwall manager, would fine you and say, "I'll let it out there that you've been fined, but you won't be paying the fine."
So it was just a bit of a PR management in the dressing room.
But
Very
on the
interesting.
time thing, it's really weird our two managers, because I'm going to talk about Glenn Hoddle and Jackie Charlton. Glenn Hoddle would stand by the door, a bit like we were saying, Gregor was saying about Nuno, by the door when you're having a meeting, and he'd be like that.
What, looking at his watch?
Looking at his watch, and it'd be, and then someone come in 30 seconds later, he'd be going, and there'd be one or two after.
What time do you call
Yeah,
this?
just sort of like, and it'd be sit down. Jack Charlton, you'd have 12 o'clock meeting, 2 minutes past, people would walk in, and Jack just go, sit down, get in the back. Wouldn't even mention it.
Really?
And it was like really weird, because I remember thinking I used to go with Glenn Hoddle. Obviously, I was with Glenn Hoddle at club, and Jack Charlton with international, and Jack would be not bothered at all.
Really?
I mean, if it was a time of being really late, he'd say something, but generally he'd just say to you, "Get a seat at the back," and that was it. He didn't even mention it.
Different
Now
personality.
you like players don't play.
Yeah,
Marcus
exactly.
Rashford at Barca.
But he
this
knew,
year.
exactly.
I mean, that'll make you do it. That'll surely make
Exactly,
you.
yeah.
Who got left behind? Was it Jose Mourinho? The coach went.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to remember who it was,
Yeah.
but he just, like he was late for the coach, like coming back from a match or whatever, and Jose just told the coach to go.
Yeah.
No,
see there,
you got to find a way to get home from Stoke.
Thomas Frank dropped.
Bazuma got.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does
Look,
work. It's like, listen, it's not all.
You have to, as a player, you just have to respect. If that gaffer's like that, then But there are. If you're continually being late, then it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, you're always on.
Like
time for
you
this
are,
podcast.
Tom, for this.
Yeah.
We don't find you, Tom, do we?
You could if you want. Do the Doherty one though, just for a bit of PR. are. Yeah, we'll all get fined, says producer Neil, for being too late and never on time. Want to talk about Wolves also from this game as well. We're talking about young players at Chelsea. Martin, the subject of your column earlier this week was headlined "The dearth of local lads is why Wolves are so disconnected," which is an aspect of the Wolves' current crisis, if you like, which I'd not thought about. So tell us a bit more about what you'd.
Well, it was a couple of paragraphs in Bill Edgar's piece on Monday morning, which said that it is very likely that Wolves will become this season the first team in the top flight ever to go a whole season without fielding an English outfield player.
Right.
I mean, their goalkeeper Sam Johnston, but they've got one English outfield player in their Premier League squad. He's a kid called Matthias Mane. He's actually born in Portugal, but he was over here. I think he came over at the age of 9 or 10. Lived in Manchester. So he plays for England's under-17 team.
Right.
The fact that the country of his birth is Portugal, we can all debate exactly the Englishness of everything, but he is the only one that qualifies as English. And I just looked at that and thought, and it's just about disconnection, because there were murders at Wolves at the weekend, weren't they? Because they got beat by Burnley at home, and you just look at it. And, I know there's other problems at Wolves. I know there's problems about investment, the board's not popular, and the manager now and all of this. But you just looked at that and thought, what is there if you're Wolverhampton person, if Wolves is your team or whatever, there's not a single person in that squad that is connected to you, to your area, to Wolverhampton itself. There's a lack of connection, and that's fine when it's going all right. It's absolutely fine. It's the same sort of point about West Ham and the London Stadium. London Stadium's no problem at all when they're doing all right in Europe, when they're beating Chelsea or they're beating Tottenham there. London Stadium's no problem at all. The minute it's no good, everyone hates the stadium. The minute it's no good at Wolves is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about English players are better than foreign players.
No.
They're not. I'm not talking about quotas. I don't believe in quotas. If you want 25 foreign players, great. Good luck to you. It's up to you. But be prepared for, if it doesn't go well, suddenly there's nothing there for anyone to really
latch on to.
And go, this guy's one of, let's cheer the kids on. Let's do. The kid Ollie Scholes at West Ham, has come into the team this season. It's fair to say he's not playing well.
He's the fullback
who's playing on the opposite side. He's playing in an inverted fullback. Well, everyone feels sorry for him.
He's walked into a team at the wrong time.
He's walked into a team at the wrong time. He's now playing out of position. He's not playing well at all. No one's saying a bad word about him simply because, well, he's a local lad.
And feel sorry for him.
So they feel sorry for him.
So
they want him to do well. Whereas if he'd have been, another signing from abroad or whatever, and he's playing there, it would be that geezer's useless. You've seen the fellow, he's absolutely hopeless. Whereas it's a different attitude. George Graham said at Arsenal that the smartest thing that he did was Rocastle, Mickey Thomas, Paul Davis, Paul Merson, getting them in early, because it bought him time with the fans.
Yeah.
Because every fan likes to see
absolutely
a young player. Every fan likes the idea that he can say to his mate, I saw him when he made his day. I told you he was a good player.
He's one of our own.
He's one of our own.
Yeah.
Well, that Wolves, they sing they're none of our own, don't they?
Yeah.
He's in.
There's a new song for him.
He's in a
none of our own.
Absolutely.
But guys, but to Martin's
totally
point,
agree.
you've both been in dressing rooms across the country.
Absolutely. Well, what I would say, the 6 years I had abroad and been in England, so many dressing rooms, the dynamic of how they worked was from people local. And I had experienced it at Marseille as well, where there was a number of Marseille players who were brought in, to the club that were local lads who had come through the system, but they drove the dressing room as well. And likewise at Nancy, it was no different. The boys that were ball around, they would firmly, they always would say something. Because you also understand the locals. Because a lot of them, you'd meet the locals going around in town. You'd be talking to them.
Yeah.
So it does matter. Is it the be all and end all? Like we just said, if you've got a fantastic team, no one cares when you're winning.
Yeah.
But when you're losing, it's like you need them.
Yeah, no, I've spoken about this for a long time. I spoke about it with Chelsea. I think it's sad that they just generate money to spend on other players by selling all their homegrown talents. I got into Nottingham Forest team when it was a difficult time, and there were loads of us from the academy. There was like Michael Dawson, Wes Morgan, Andy Reid. People had been there for like come through since 16 or whatever, and that probably did buy us a bit of leeway and a bit of sort of
Galvanise the dressing room,
well,
and
but also the
pitch.
fans.
Yeah,
like
the
although we were
fans,
having
yeah.
a tough time on the pitch, they were like willing to give them a bit more leeway because they're young lads that they want to do well. It's exactly what Martin's saying. So I've spoken about it for a long time. I think it's a hugely undervalued part of football, the connection that having people in your team that have been at the club for a long time and were like products of your academy. You know, it doesn't always have
Let's
to be
face
that, but
it.
have been there since they were young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hugely undervalued in football.
Let's face it, the Lisbon Lions was the most extreme of the other way. The Lisbon Lions. When it Gregor?
Yeah, and we're not harking back to those days. They're gone.
But no,
that was a fan.
There was a reason having that unity within a group. You know, there are other teams, even years after that were a lot of players from
West Ham's 1965 European Cup Winners' Cup team, Man City,
Yeah.
the Man City team that won, I think it's the Cup Winners' Cup. That's a very local team as well. And it's not saying that makes it better or whatever. We all know that the best Wolves team, but didn't have a bloke from Wolverhampton in it. I don't think really. The best Wolves team recently, not the best Wolves team. That was full of them. But the best Wolves team of recent years was this Portuguese enclave.
Yeah.
But
that's what got them. We should say that's what got them to the Premier League. Whatever you think about that, that's what got them there and kept them there.
But
now,
it's not about when things are going well. When things are going well, doesn't matter where everyone comes from. When they're going badly, it's that little bit of the connection with the local. What Tony was saying there about the local players driving the dressing room at Nancy at Marseille. That's exactly what Barry Venison said about. I quoted it in the column about the Newcastle, Kevin Keegan era Newcastle, that obviously everyone, Ginola and Philly Bale and all of that. Yep. He said, but that dressing room was driven by Lee Clark, Steve Howie. I know Steve Howie's a Sunderland man, but Lee Clark, Steve Howie.
Gary Speed there at that time?
No. Robbie Elliott.
Yeah.
Steve Watson.
Steve Watson.
It was the fellas from the northeast that drove the dressing room, according to Barry Venison.
Yeah, really interesting look at the Wolves situation. Loads more still to come on the show. Now, I mentioned a few weeks ago, as well as this great podcast from The Times, we also produce loads of other brilliant exclusive investigations, and the latest one out now, The Poppy Day Bomb, is superb. It's out now. I'm on episode 4, and I promise you, if you check it out, you will not be disappointed. And this weekend, the Rugby Autumn Internationals kick off, and the Ruck podcast, the other podcast from the sports desk at The Times, will give you the best analysis throughout November, so make sure you check that out too. It's time for a little break, so it's time for a question from Bill Edgar's weekly quiz. No Arsenal player has recorded an away hat-trick in the Premier League for nearly 9 years. Who was the last player to do so, scoring 3 times in the last 20 minutes to help the team to a 5-1 win against West Ham in December 2016? Find out after the break. Welcome back to the Game Football Podcast from The Times. I'm Tom Clark, and I've got Gregor Robertson, Martin Samuel and Tony Cascarino. Listeners, we've got a different quiz answerer today. Gregor Robertson technically went first and got it wrong. But thank God Tony Cascarino was here with the answer to the quiz question, which was...
Sanchez.
Alexis
Not Laurie.
Sanchez. Alexis Sanchez. That's right, the last player to score an away hat-trick for Arsenal against West Ham. They play Burnley this weekend, another test for Mikel Arteta's side to see if he can keep going with those wins. Maybe it'll be another 1-0. Chaps, we want to talk about Celtic. Gregor, this is your team. Tony, you played for them.
Well, I was there.
Yeah. You wouldn't even call it playing, would you? That's what some of the fans might say.
Oh, no, look, Gregor's the man for this one.
But, I mean, it's been a remarkable week. Brendan Rodgers resigning. They're followed by major shareholder Dermot Desmond with a quite frankly astonishing attack on a manager who he's worked with for a long, long time, calling Rodgers divisive, self-serving. This was all on Monday night. And then in walks Martin O'Neill. Get the old gang back together.
He looked more surprised than anyone.
Yeah, as he's then been telling everyone throughout the week about how surprised he was to get the phone call, but how quickly he jumped at the chance. I bet you did, absolutely. It's a remarkable situation that's happening in Scotland in football this season already. Rangers, of course, with Russell Martin being sacked. Long pursuit for a new manager. You've got Hearts barging their way in at the top of the table. But Gregor, just kind of sum up what's going on at Celtic.
Good luck.
You've got 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Rodgers' return was slightly divisive in the first place, but he was successful again. And then, as was the case in his first spell, he started to kind of chip away at this idea of the club not matching his ambitions. He wanted a bit more backing in the transfer market. Celtic, actually, if you look at them historically, have done pretty well in recruitment wise, but it's gone off the boil list in the last 12 to 18 months. Players like Trusty from Sheffield United not really worked out at all. It's not been good in terms of recruitment, but I don't think.
And they lost some of their best players in the summer, didn't they? Furuhashi and a few others.
Yes. So Rodgers has been pretty tetchy in the media, and he said there was one line he said, "If you give me a Honda Civic, you can't expect me to drive it like a Ferrari," which kind of threw his players under the bus a bit as well. And clearly, Dermot Desmond has taken an enormous exception to this, and this is someone who you never hear from. Like, he's been Celtic's biggest shareholder for 30 years, since 1995, and he never ever makes any public statements or gives any interviews. He doesn't turn up to the AGM.
Yeah,
he basically controls the club. He's the guy who gives the thumbs up or the thumbs down to appointments. But he's never ever does anything like this. So clearly he's been enormously angered by what he sees as a kind of duplicitous behaviour by Brendan Rodgers. And he's saying that he had the sign off, and they had conversations about every player, like that he was completely on board with everything, that they had a sit down for 3 hours in his house not so long ago to kind of iron over a few issues, and then he still comes out in the media and says things like this. So it's been pretty extraordinary, and it's also extraordinary that it's played out so much in public.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of toxicity at Celtic for a good while now, in terms of this feeling that the board have been in situ for so long and it's all gone a bit stale and needs some life and some sort of new energy and vision there. And they had a very, very good manager in Brendan Rodgers. But I've always I feel like this is a situation where you could say both things are true, John, because
it's been a while since you've said that, actually. I'm glad you brought it back.
Because as much as Brendan Rodgers wants the club to back him, and as much as it's true that nowadays when you look at a club that's got £80 million sitting in the bank, fans are entitled to go, could we not put some more of that on the pitch? Celtic are in an almost unique position, although it's getting more common in Europe because of the sort of financial disparity caused by clubs who get into Europe, essentially. But Celtic have hugely more resources than anyone in the league, and they should walk the league, and they have done for 13 of the last 14 seasons, something like that. And then they go and try and compete in Europe, which is really the barometer of their success now.
Yeah.
And they're a minnow now.
Yeah.
They're not in stature, they're not in history, they're not in so many ways of measuring the size and potential of a club, but they are in terms of what they're actually how much they're signing players for 8 to 12 million. That's a big signing for Celtic. That's nothing. I mean, you're competing against teams like PSG and Bayern Munich and even teams in the Premier League. So, in the last 15, 20 years, since Martin O'Neill's last spell, actually, the landscape has shifted massively, enormously, and it's a difficult position for anyone running Celtic to try and compete and have success on both those fronts.
It was longer than 2 minutes, guys, but that was a good summary. I thought really spot on. Well done, Gregor. Yeah. Who needs Google AI?
I mean, there'll be a lot of Celtic fans listening and will say, "No, bugger that." we need a new board, sack the board.
Really interesting.
Absolutely. There's a lot of opinion who, like, given, despite everything, Brendan Rodgers, last time he left, there was a banner saying you swapped immortality for mediocrity, something like that. They weren't happy.
Yeah.
But the opinion shifted a bit, and where there is a lot of sympathy for Brendan Rodgers within the fan base now.
Nah.
Martin, just on the topic of how extraordinary this is, that's the word Gregor used in terms of Desmond and the outspoken nature of it and the public nature of it in modern I was going to say in modern football, but at any time in football it's not often that this plays out in this manner, is it?
No. You don't get, well, as Gregor said, he's not an outspoken man, Desmond, Dermot Desmond, and that whole sort of that Irish, Coolmore Stud and all of those guys. If you remember the sort of Coolmore Stud takedown of Alex Ferguson, it wasn't done with dramatic statements from John Magnier or McManus or anything like that. It was done in a very, very sort of measured way, behind the scenes, questions at board meetings, things like that, when there was that schism at Manchester United. So it's not their style at all to suddenly come out and do what Dermot Desmond did. And really, it's not the style of many owners in this country. No. The outspoken chairman is very much a sort of Italian and French and Spanish. You always get these sort of maverick type fellas. That
club presidents.
Presidents that come out and say diabolical things about the manager or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's great fun, isn't it? As journalists, we should
I'm
petition for this to happen all the time.
I'm not knocking it.
When a manager leaves, you get each manager and owner get side by side round a table, ding dong, off you go. You present your argument.
Marinakis has definitely got the potential for it, I would say.
Yeah.
But no, it was very unusual. But he won't be, when you speak to people in football, he will not be the first club owner to feel that way about Brendan. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Isn't that more scathing though, Mark?
But there's a lot of people at Leicester, people at Liverpool that thought that Brendan played politics in the way that people at Newcastle, people at Liverpool thought that Rafa Benitez plays politics. There's a few managers. You think of Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy had a succession of managers that were pretty much attacking him in press conferences about investment and about what they're. Never ever said there's no bite back against Pochettino, against Mourinho, against Conte. Conte in particular. There's no bite back at all. It's not the way it's usually done. The managers almost get a free hit. It's quite interesting.
Go on to?
Well, I was going to say, how do we look at Brendan in this? Because I don't know Brendan. I've never met Brendan, but I've always felt from the outside it is self-interest all the time for him. I've always felt that. Now, can you argue that he's done a great job? No, he's done a great job at Celtic twice. He's done a decent job at Leicester. So he's obviously a very good manager, but he would upset people upstairs and when you say something like, Honda Civic as your players, what do you think they think of you? They'd be hold it a minute.
What would you think that?
Well, first of all, I think it's unnecessary to undermine your players. Even though you might not privately, you might go, I don't fancy him, or he's not. You might do that with your coaching staff. But to openly call his players like Honda Civic and then and try and drive a Ferrari, to me is like that wouldn't go down well in your dressing room. No. So it hasn't gone down well in your dressing room. It hasn't gone down well upstairs either.
No,
and he hasn't cared about that. He hasn't thought about that line.
And the thing is, with it not going down well upstairs, these are different times. In the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, you could really have a go at the Brian Clough. Let's be honest, was not backwards in coming forwards about the board of directors and stuff like that. But what you've got now is social media and all of that interference from outside. So boardrooms are a lot more sensitive to this stuff now than they were before.
Yeah.
You could, sack the board or whatever. You can wear that during a match or whatever. That's always happened. People have always held up banners saying so-and-so out or whatever. Now it's social media, it's phone-ins, it's talk shows, it's podcasts, it's all of this.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys aren't used to it, by the way.
Yeah.
They run businesses. You don't get that. I mean, if your shares aren't performing particularly well, no one knows about it really, apart from
How do you
a few
two see?
shareholders.
I mean, all of us. But how do you see Brendan in all this?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
does he get another job now? Does he? Because it's
Well, he'll get another job, yeah.
in the Premier League this season.
Well, the thing that's interesting is he's almost compelled to respond to this. You can't. If he stays silent on this, it's like he's probably reputationally quite damaging. You're going to have to.
Well, he's burned bridges there for sure.
He's going to have to put his side across. One other point is that a lot of fans are thinking, why Dermot Desmond? I think he's got 30% this year. It's like, how can he? You say club owners. He's not he's not actually the club owner. So why is he using the
shareholder? He's not the club. Yeah,
so why
he's
after
not the
like
chairman.
30 years is he using the club's the club platform to write a 551 word statement? This sort of caustic is pretty remarkable.
Is there just quickly, Gregor? Is there any element of this as well about the state of the table at the minute? Because currently you have Hearts top of the SPL table on 26 points, 6 points ahead of Celtic. They beat them at the weekend. Is that creeping in as well? That the established order is being upset? It's early days, but it looks like it might be upset this season.
Yeah, look, of course, yeah. I mean, it's been a bad start. They went out and didn't qualify for the Champions League. Like that, as I say, that is always the kind of barometer. It's like you got to get in there, and then you got to not. At the moment, it's just not embarrassing yourself. We had that run to play into. I had a run a couple of years ago under Brendan Rodgers, which was actually not bad.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has been quite embarrassing. That's why I'm saying it's such a difficult
the Hearts
position.
thing is embarrassing, isn't it? I mean, you've had 13 out of 14 years of domination. A bloke's turned up from Brighton, gone, have a look at this spreadsheet that some of the lads in the back office have knocked up. And next thing you know, you're winning the league by 6 points, and Celtic are nowhere. I mean, if you were Celtic, you'd be, gee whiz, we're not looking good here, lads.
In terms of
We're really not.
In terms of then the manager, then just quickly on Martin O'Neill being back at Celtic, again another remarkable aspect to a remarkable story. They've got Rangers in the Cup on Sunday, followed by Midtjylland in Europa League next week. I mean, is there a world in which he wins those 2 games and Martin O'Neill gets the job?
Maybe.
A homecoming, an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer
He says no, but
interim.
Well, the longer it goes, and the thing is, you look at the names being linked, and I had this conversation with one or two friends back home. Someone texted me the other day saying, "What do you think of Kieran McKenna?" I was like, "Yeah, Kieran McKenna's great, but I don't think he's going to go to Celtic."
no chance of going there.
Well, that's the other point about the Desmond thing,
the
isn't it? And
financial
the
package
fallout.
that Ipswich put to Kieran McKenna was to keep him in as a Premier League elite manager.
It's
to keep
also,
him.
unfortunately, and it pains me to say it, it's also going to be the manager in the Scottish Premiership instead of the Championship. We have a route back into the Premier League. Like, so if you look at that, then you look at Robbie Keane. I mean, that's a punt.
Yeah.
That's why Brendan Rodgers was like, I think he's an elite level coach.
Yeah,
he's competed at the top end of the Premier League with.
Well, if you're a chairman that accepts, or an owner that accepts certain things will be said, but you're on the field, you're doing really well, most of them would take it.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it's going to be difficult to make the next appointment. So the longer Martin O'Neill has to kind of keep churning along and maybe getting victories, then the more the club might feel it's okay to leave it as it is.
Very interesting. Celtic fans, if you've got any views that echo some of the points the guys have made, do get in touch with me, tom.clark@thetimes.co.uk. We return to the Premier League to finish our show today. I wanted to talk about Tottenham. Gregor, we had a few listeners, by the way, get in touch on Monday, upset that we hadn't mentioned their 3-0 win against Everton, which did put them in 3rd in the Premier League. And Martin, in your column on Tuesday, the final item was about that position in the table and Thomas Frank's view on it. And I'm going to read what Martin said because it was just one of his funny little pithy items on the end of the column. Tottenham sit 3rd in the league after becoming the first away winners at Everton's new stadium. So, of course, the head coach, Thomas Frank, immediately plays down their chances of title contention. No, there are a few teams ahead of us, he said when asked. No, there are 2. One is Bournemouth and the other you play next month. Beat Arsenal and the gap could be 2 points with more than half of the season remaining. Why does everyone talk like this? What is the harm in Frank saying he'll give it a crack? Nothing bullish, nothing too boastful, just that Tottenham are up there and have some very good players, so let's see what they can do. And by the way, the same even applies to Bournemouth and Sunderland. It's one hell of a long shot, but at least let's have fun with it. So I want to come back to that question, Martin, that you posed in there. Why does everyone talk like this?
I don't know. I don't understand. I've always one of my core beliefs is that this sport is for the amusement of the working class. We can talk brands and this and that, but it is for the amusement of the working class. Have some fun with it. Don't keep playing stuff down. If you're up there, you don't have to say we're going to win the league. No one's saying that. I'm not convinced they finish top 4, by the way. I'm not convinced they're finishing the Champions League, let alone win the league. But if you're third in the league, don't try and kill it before you know. I never understood that. Enzo Maresca gave the title to Liverpool.
At Christmas last year.
He gave it to them about a month ago. Before they can't win a game. He'd already given them the title, saying, it's going to be very hard for us to catch Liverpool. And
he did also do
it. 4
it.
Games. He's been there 4 games.
Maresca also did it, and you made this point on the podcast last season when they were scoring for fun before Christmas, and we were going, can they? And he was like, no. I mean,
he can't possibly.
He was right.
And then it all fell apart. Everyone goes, see, he was clever. And you go, well, not really, was he? Because he's given people an excuse to fail. That's what I don't. That's the other thing I don't understand. But why would you give your players? Why would you give your players an excuse to not challenge for the title? Just go, well, we're not the same.
Is it our fault, by the way? As I've been thinking about this question since I read your column and discussing.
Okay. Interesting.
Are we to blame? The media, the journalists out there. That if Thomas Frank, Tom Allnutt is our reporter who's going to go to the press conference on Friday. I'm editing tomorrow. If Tom Allnutt rings in and says Thomas Frank said we're going to, we can win the league, I'm going to go, oh my God, that's amazing. That's a
good story.
That's a great story. Yeah, we'll have 400 words, quick as you can. We'll bang it at the top of the website. Get that on social media.
But that's fine.
Thomas Frank says Tottenham are going to win the league. I'm wondering, is it my fault? Have I ruined it?
But no, you haven't. Because if the story you wanted him to write on the back of it is this gargantuan pillock says Tottenham are going to win the league and they're useless, well then, Thomas Frank would have every right to turn around and say, well, there's no point me, talking about this then, is there? Because you're just going to...
Ange said we're going to try.
Yeah.
Or we should dream. But I don't know how much... I don't know personally how much impact it actually has. I totally take your point, that... it's also it's not true. It's disingenuous. It's not true. Of course you're going to try. You're going to try your best to finish as high in the league as possible. But I think even when you come out and say, yeah, we're going to try, I don't think anyone. I think people then will go, are you sure, Thomas?
But that's what I mean.
Are you sure?
There's an element of you
can't win.
You enter the season, right? I've been promoted 4 times in my career, and you enter the season and you didn't think, can we do it? When I first did it with Millwall, going back a good number of years ago, I remember thinking, cool, we're getting going now, and we're doing well. And then suddenly, I immediately, as we're talking, I'm thinking of Leicester. Leicester start that 16 season where there was not even a thought of winning the Premier League. But things started developing. When they beat Chelsea, I think it was in November when Jose lost his job. Yeah. It was like, hold it a minute.
Then they beat Liverpool in December.
Still, they're not favourites, and no one's going to say they're going to win the league. But this, within the group, you suddenly get this belief, and Vardy's playing brilliantly, and then you've got, N'Golo Kante and Drinkwater in midfield, and Mahrez on the wing, and everything's going for them. And suddenly, by January, I felt Leicester really... I remember doing a dinner upstairs with Alison Rudd, and we were talking, and I said on that, I said, I really think the Leicester players think they've got a chance now. They really got this...
So
he said when they beat Man City in February, that's when he knew they could win the league.
Right,
yeah.
But in fairness, he said they couldn't all the way...
Yes,
he did.
But is that
last game of the season or something.
Is that going along, and as you're going through the gears and the amount of games you're playing.
But Leicester ain't Tottenham.
No, I know.
Tottenham are a club that were invited to join the Super League.
Yeah.
You know, so
which is a bit unfair.
No, but what I mean
But
is,
he can word it, can't he?
Oh, you can
differently.
word it
differently.
in a way.
Well, and this season as well, you know, on Monday's show, we were basically handing Arsenal the title and saying, you know, it's theirs to lose and stuff. And because you look at, we're saying on this show, Liverpool, Chelsea, etc. So your point would also be, come on, lads, give us a title race, will you?
Absolutely. And this has been going on for a while. If you have time, I'll tell you the story about the specialist in failure. So Chelsea, when Jose's press conference on a Friday, Arsenal's press conference used to go before Chelsea's,
Right.
and they always used to watch Arsene Wenger's press conference. Always used to tune
As in the Chelsea
Sky.
staff?
Yeah.
Right.
Jose, Steve Atkins, who was the head of media there, they'd always sit down and watch Arsene Wenger's press conference just in case there was anything, because of this rivalry between the two, and just because. And so Steve said that Jose had this phrase, low profile. If there was nothing really going on, just still be low profile.
As in before the press conference, he'd
Yeah,
say...
going into the press conference, low profile, won't say anything, right? So Arsene Wenger does his press conference, gets asked, Brendan Rodgers, Liverpool are flying at that stage, and Brendan Rodgers had been asked about whether they're title contenders, and have completely played it down. You know, then Arsene Wenger gets asked about, you know, who's title contenders, and Arsene Wenger says, I think sometimes with managers, they're so scared of being thought of as failures that they never talk positively about their team. They never talk positively about their chances, because they're worried that if they come short, then people are going to call them a failure. So they're watching this at Chelsea, and so Steve says to Jose, he's talking about Brendan there, isn't he? So Jose goes, yeah. He said, it's not about you. He said, no, no, it's not about you. No, it's not about us. No, he said, nothing.
Low profile.
Nothing to worry about there. So Jose goes, low profile. We go into the press conference. First question of the press conference is Arsene Wenger has talked about managers playing down their chances, because they're worried about being thought of as failures. You know, what do you think of that, Jose? That's when Mourinho turns around and says, failure? He would know about failure. He's a specialist in failure. Steve said, I'm sitting there, I'm like looking at him like, what are you doing? This is not our fight. This is not our war to get involved in, you know.
Journalists in the room rubbing their hands together going, get
He's
in.
the specialist in failure.
Absolutely brilliant. But I mean,
That's where it comes from.
well, let's talk about finally then what we think of Tottenham this season then, because we didn't mention them on Monday's show.
I think no chance.
I'm being quite honest.
Joking. I am joking, of course.
I'm not.
I'm not really. But,
beaten in the
for
cup
argument's
last
sake.
night against Newcastle, which again,
Yeah.
an opportunity for a trophy gone already. Third in the league, as you say, Martin, quite rightly pointing that out, that they've got Arsenal in the coming weeks. What are we thinking about Thomas Frank's early start at Tottenham, and what are the kind of team he's putting together?
Up and down, isn't it? It's an up and down team at the moment. You know, they've lost a couple of, Bournemouth have beaten them. Against that, they've gone to Man City.
Yeah.
Against that, they've gone to Man City and won.
Yeah.
And there's a team there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is a team there. There's no doubt about that. They've had a couple of significant injuries, haven't they? Madison, Solanke.
Kulusevski.
Kulusevski, yeah.
Be interesting what they do in the January window if they had.
You think they need more?
Of
they
course they
definitely
do.
need more.
Of course they do.
Where?
yeah.
Where?
Well, he likes to play the two in midfield, doesn't he? He's got Paul Hiniera and
Bentancur, yeah.
Bentancur. He'll play Sarr in there. I think I'm not quite sure. The new ones that Matthias Tell that's come in, he's done okay. I'm not quite
Xavi
sure.
Simons, yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Kudus has been a great signing, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kudus is a player, but they just generally need more.
More creativity, you mean? More
Kudus is
flair.
the main one, but then Bergvall can do the creativity as well. He's a decent footballer. I just think he'd like a bit more bolstered squad to challenge in and fight for the shirt.
Yeah.
And with that, I mean, look, Romero's been injured as well, and he's a big one for them alongside Van der Ven. I think Tottenham need a bit more, but it'd be interesting.
Bit more to get Champions League, or do we think
they're close to Champions League in my opinion, because they're
top five,
they're very capital. He's very good at setting up teams, Thomas Frank. And it's a big challenge. We go back to what Tottenham were last year and what they are this year. You can see they're a harder team to play against.
Yeah,
they just are.
They just look a bit clunky to me, particularly in forward areas, and sometimes you watch them and you think you're not entirely.
Well, the centre forwards are one, Gregor, isn't it? Because he's got.
I just mean more the team as a whole. If you look at Thomas Frank last season at Brentford, you knew he would approach games differently. Sometimes he would, they'd go full high court press. Sometimes they'd sit back and try and play in the break, and he's kind of trying to do the same thing with Spurs, but it doesn't seem quite as natural a fit. And I think actually ultimately who the opposition is very important for them. That sounds like an obvious thing to say, but it dictates how he approaches games a lot of the time. So they beat Man City because they were a team that came out, but tried to play against them, and they were brave. They played really high at the pitch. It's fascinating watching them. I was at the Villa game the other week, and you watch Van der Ven stepping out from centre half, following all the way in number 10 or right deep into the opposition's half if we've got the ball in the corner. When they commit to that, it's really exciting. But then there's other games where they look like they're a bit in between, and it's not. As I say, I think the main thing is when they've got the ball, you're not seeing any real attacking patterns or anything that's not trying to draw in the opposition and going behind.
Yeah,
scoring goals from set pieces is going to be a massive plus for them.
Yeah,
because we've already seen them get enough goals, from the Thomas Frank this season at Spurs. They're definitely going to get goals regular basis.
Yeah, interesting, and a big home game for them against Chelsea at the weekend. Loads of other fixtures as well, but we'll leave it there. Tony Cascarino, Martin Samuel, and Gregor Robertson, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you too for listening. We'll be back on Monday to talk about those big matches. We'll see you then.